We're just going to pick right back up where we left off in the last video with the engine assembly. Now, unfortunately, Toyota is very far behind on a lot of orders, so I won't be able to get my bearings and stuff for quite a while, my main bearings, but I have new pistons, rings, crankshaft. I have most of what I need. I'm just going to reuse the rod bearings and main bearings, or I'm going to tighten it down completely, but not going to torque it because it will be coming all the way back apart. I just need to get started, test fitting this in the car, and so on and so forth. These thrust bearings are pretty much the most common wear item on ARs. So you can see this was the rear one, pretty marred up. The rear one's a lot better. I'm just gonna flip the positions for now. I do have a new one on the way. So just a quick wipe on the bearings, make sure they're clear of any dirt that might have got in the garage. Same with the mains, just a quick wipe. I am only barely running these down with the impact. I am not using the impact at all. This has a feature where it only hand tightens. I'm just gonna give him another snug by hand, just to make sure everything's squished properly. Like I said, this is not getting torqued because it's coming completely apart again. Next, of course, I gotta put the pistons together. Interesting, so these are used 1AR pistons. Toyota actually tells you to use a broken ring to clean out any gunk on the inside, which is what I'm doing. Of course, I'll do that to each piston. But the pistons are something that won't be coming out again, so I want to make sure that they are completely clean before I install them. Now it comes to taking the pistons out, which of course need to slide the wrist pin out. I've just been grabbing a pocket screwdriver, kind of just prying up on whatever side's closest to the, there's a little cutout here. Whatever side's closest to the cutout, just kind of pry up on that. It's easier to do on a table, but basically once you can pry that out, then it's sliding the wrist pin out. Just like this. Careful, these are pretty strongly spring loaded, so slowly work your way around. There we go. And in my case, a 9/16 extended socket pushes perfectly on that, slides it out easy. Now when it comes time to assemble the new pistons onto the existing conrods, the thing you need to pay attention to is these two marks. The side that has two marks is going to be the same side that has the notch on this piston. On the other side, it doesn't have that notch, and the other side only has one mark. So two marks, that notch on the piston, and that's the correct way to install them. When it comes to reinstalling the rings, the snap ring, I just kind of work it in. Once I'm close, I just grab my pocket screwdriver, slide it in, just like that. And next we've got to do the piston rings. So the rings actually are pre-gapped from Toyota, so we only need to check to make sure they're in spec. Now, we are actually supposed to push beyond the total length of travel. So I do need to have a piston for this. And visibly, I can't really show it on video, but there's a line in the block where you can see where the ring was riding and where the ring wasn't, so you need to push it past that point. A little bit more. So basically the ring needs to sit down at least 120 millimeters from the inside of here. And this just has to be less than 0.87 millimeters or 0.0342 inches. Alright, so in my case, this ring is in spec. #1 ring for cylinder 1. So I'll have to keep that here. Then just repeat down the line. For the next set of rings, the normal is between 0.37 to 0.42 millimeters, and as long as it's smaller than 1.02 millimeters, then we're good. Cool, perfect. Good for cylinder 1. Last but not least, the oil control ring. Which just need to be between 0.1 and 0.2 millimeters. We're good. Now when it comes time to install these on the pistons, you need to take note of a couple things. There's a tighter part of the coil right here. I don't know if I can even show that on camera. That just needs to be on the opposite side of the opening. When it comes time to install the pistons in the block, take this 1L in the case of a 1AR piston, and this needs to go towards the front of the block. GoPro overheated, so I needed to pause for a second. In that time, I just installed all the pistons and cone rods. Now I'm just throwing some assembly lube on them. And just put the oil pan on. Just again, temporary, because it's gonna have to all come back out. I'm just putting this on so I don't get any dirt in the engine while I'm putting it in and out of the car, waiting for these bearings to show up. So next, time to install the head. First things first, this guy right here, you do need it. It actually guides coolant around the water jackets, and it only fits on the block one way. There's a little notch here. It has to line up with the notch back here in the front of the engine. Easy peasy, just like that. Make sure the head gasket's completely clear of any oils, contaminants. Get a brand new towel here. See how dirty that is still. Alright, so we actually have to apply a little bit of RTV on the head here and on the top of the head gasket. So I need to be 100% ready before I do that. Now, just for clarification, on the front of the head gasket in these two locations, a little bit on the bottom, a little bit on the top. It needs to be no more than 7 millimeters wide, 3 to 7 millimeters wide, and approximately 3 millimeters tall. So I'm gonna eyeball that, of course. Small coat of engine oil underneath the heads of the bolts and on the threads. I'm going to do the same thing with the bolts as I have done in the past, but I'm not starting with that. I'm still going to do it in the correct sequence. Here, so start with this one here. One. Now, the torque sequence is pretty simple. We got to do 27 foot-pounds, and then 90 degrees, and then 90 degrees. And again, same torque sequence as before. Start in the middle. This one. And officially, we are supposed to do it a second time. Make sure that they are all still tight. Yep, quite a few more degrees there. 2. 3. Now is going to be the fun part of doing 90 degrees. So I'm going to start by cleaning off all the heads on these bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark all the bolts at the very forward position. So following the same sequence, you gotta turn these all 90 degrees. This one. There's one. It is a very tight fit on the socket. I'm recording you. All right, that's the first round. Just double check, make sure they are all 90 degrees. Perfect. Now, repeat the same sequence, 90 more degrees, total of 180. Now we got the head on, I'm going to start putting the Valvetrain back together. So these had to be, I actually don't know if they need to go back in the same holes they came out of, but I'm going to anyway. I kept track of that, so figured might as well. With these, I kept track of where they came from. Next, we got to install the cam tower. So we install sealant on the whole surface, starting from here. We go on the outside of every bolt hole. Just like that. Easy way, small bolts go in the lower positions down here, and the tall bolts go in the higher positions. Alright, so we're close to being done. Just need to do the timing. So what we need to do is set the crank 40 degrees before cutting the center, and that's when this is flat here. The intake camshaft needs to be with the left mark facing up, and the exhaust camshaft is again with the left mark facing up. Again, this stuff is all gonna have to come off. So I'm not installing any seals, I'm not torquing anything. install the second guy. This one? Is it now? And now install the second guy. Mm-hmm. 7 degrees. 30 degrees. Perfect. Okay. That's timed.